So I am spending my last day or two here home in Chicago, and this place gets a bad rap, and it is only amplified by the fact that the media latches on to what is going on in the city and just puts their spin on it. So what am I talking about? On January 1st, 2017, the Chicago Sun-Times put out a paper, and on the front cover of that paper, there were 601 faces out of 778 people who were murdered in the streets of Chicago. The headline under it says, "Our city, 1 year, 778 murders." 601 faces of homicide victims in 2016 show something insidious has crept into our midst. I had one friend from high school said the only thing that's insidious about this cover is how colorful it is, because everybody on it is black or brown, and majority of them are young black men. I was pissed that the Sun-Times did that. I mean, we know it. We know it's bad here. I'm sure they did it for shock value, and maybe they were doing it also because they wanted people to see the severity of the situation. But it just it hurts when you know that the media is capitalizing off of this. And so I wanted to take some time to talk about my city. In the last few years here in Chicago, it has gotten really bad. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this is a very beautiful city, and there's nothing you could take away from the beauty of this place. But then you throw in the ugliness of this place, and people try to take away from what is this city. I am a Chicagoan through and through. But I'm a Chicagoan through and through. I grew up here. I was born here. My roots are here. And to see the city that you've grown up in and grown to love become what it is problematic to me. And there are many people to blame. But we have to go in order of hierarchy. The Illinois state government sucks. Governor Browner sucks. I'm not afraid to say it. This city has been without a budget for over a year now. Schools have shut down, programs have been taken away, and these are things that impact the inner city of Chicago. You take away things from the inner city, and then you leave the people in the inner city grasping at straws, trying to figure out how to survive. I'm not trying to make an excuse for it, but what do you expect to happen when you take away funding from the education, when you take away funding for summer jobs, when you take away funding for low-income families? Because most of the people on the front page of the Sun-Times came from poor communities, probably from the south side, probably from the south suburbs, or from the west side. As an adult, I've watched this city change. Let me take you back a few years. I'm 28 years old. I spent most of my life and most of my coming of age years on the low end of Chicago. I got to see the local gangbangers. I got to see drugs transactions and drug usage. I got to see violence. But I grew up in a Chicago where there was honor among, thieves. There was honor amongst gangbangers. And those people looked out for their communities. Now you're probably like, how is that possible? Well, I mean, gangs didn't always start out as what they are today. They weren't always meant to be, let that go. They weren't always so inconsiderate of lives as they are today. The guys that I knew when I was a kid who were in gangs knew my family. They were, good dudes, but they just did what they did. And so I always remember that, one day when I was a kid, I was living on 45th and Ellis, and across the street from my house was an abandoned lot, and straight through the abandoned lot you could see the playground. And I would go to that playground with my cousins. And I remember one particular day, it was probably summer, we were sitting on the stoop and we were about to go to the park, and some guys from the community came over and they were like, hey y'all, We just want y'all to know y'all can't come to the park for the next, you know, however many minutes, because we about to be handling some business and we don't want to get y'all in trouble. They was like, so when we get done, y'all can go over and play. And we were like, okay. So we just sat on the stoop and we watched a whole lot of young black guys gather in the park, and the younger guys would stand and kind of like watch the fence so nobody would come in. And I just sat there and I watched it. But after maybe like half an hour, the guys dispersed, and by this time my mother and my aunt were on the front porch with us, and the older guys of the group came over to the porch, walked up to the porch, hugged my mother, hugged my aunt, you know, talked to me, talked to Savannah, because everybody loved Savannah. Oh my God, that was their baby. And then they was like, if y'all want to go play, go play. But it was this whole idea of, I'm not going to put y'all in harm's way. I knew guys who would walk up to you point blank, period, if they had an issue with you, and either hit you in your face or lay you out. And I'm not gloating about this. I'm just saying that there's a difference. These young kids out here today are shooting from moving vehicles. I've gone to the gun range and I've tried to shoot a silhouette that was not moving, and I missed. So when you add to the fact that you can't shoot, and you're in a car that's going like 40 miles per hour and your target is moving, chances are you're going to hit the wrong person, if you hit anybody at all. And I believe that a large majority of those 601 faces on the Chicago Sun-Times were innocent bystanders. They weren't the ones people were targeting. They were unintended victims. Chicago has its issues, but this is the place that taught me how to be who I am. It is the place that taught me that hustler mentality. It's the place that when I went to school and I couldn't figure out something from the academic standpoint, somehow I was always able to bring the street mentality into it and figure things out. It is because of this city that, you know, I'm kind of like curt and blunt. It's because of the city that I walk around with a mean mug all the time, because nobody smiles here. And it's just because of this city that I am who I am. You know, I don't have the answers. I don't really know what to do. But I know that Chicago is not the only place in the United States that is the way it is. It's amplified, yes. And the numbers may be higher, but there is crime happening all over this country, and it's happening in communities just like the ones that I live in. And the only thing I can think of when it comes to like how to go about fixing this is, one, it is definitely a financial situation. When I was in school, when the summer came, my friends had summer jobs. I had a summer job. I had friends who had jobs after school. Like working at Foot Locker, Finish Line was the thing to do. Or working at McDonald's. So my friends, we had money. We didn't have to go around robbing people. And I think nowadays jobs are so few and far between. And it's harder now for younger kids to get jobs. And some of them just don't want jobs. Let's be honest. Some of these kids would prefer to just be on the streets all day long doing absolutely nothing. I think that the lack of money in the community has made it where these young kids just do whatever they want. They just walk around lawless as hell, and they do whatever they think, whatever means they have to do to get by. This is their definition of getting by. But there are a group of kids in this city who really just need a chance. And I think that at the end of the day, it's a chance. And I have a lot of friends who are in the community here, who are starting nonprofits, because we all recognize in this age of our lives, almost 30 years old, that something is not right. This is not the Chicago we grew up in. We had opportunities. These kids don't. But I have friends who are here putting down the blueprint to start organizations to give back to the youth in the city. And even though I'm away, I always think about Chicago like it's home. I can't wake up and not think about it. And even though I honestly don't have any intentions of coming back here to start a career, simply because you can't afford to live here, I do have all the intention in the world of coming here in the summers and starting a nonprofit for kids in the summer, because that's the problem. When school is out and kids are out of school for 3 months, 2.5 months, what do they have to do? other than sit at home, watch TV all day, walk up and down the street, go to the playground, and now the playgrounds ain't safe. So that's my goal, is to start a nonprofit organization here in the city for the summer for kids, so they have something to do, so that over the summer they can continue to cultivate their education and stay off the streets, because that's the most violent time here in the city. Summertime shy is crazy. And because I'm here every summer and I spend the whole summer here, when I say I could have died in 2016, I mean that. You know, people in Chicago are afraid to live their lives sometimes, but you can't. Like, death seems almost inevitable at times. You can die sitting in your house because of a stray gunshot. You can die sitting in your car. You can die standing on the corner. Like, it just happens. And you can't stop living. You can't stop enjoying this city, because if you do that, then you lose the wonder of this place. And despite it all, I wouldn't give anything to be born in any other city but this one. I wouldn't give anything to experience the experiences that I have in this city, the people I know in this city, because what I know about this city lets me know that it hasn't always been this bad. And it lets me know that in my generation, the people who are my age, who realize that there's a problem, are coming back home and saying, let me fix it however I can, so that in years to come, this doesn't exist. Because this isn't going to be the end of Chicago. Like, we are not going to go out as like the murder capital of the world. I refuse to call this place anything other than Chicago or Chi-Town or the Windy City. I would never refer to the city as Chirac, because this isn't a war zone. This is not a third world country. This is just a city ridden with crime at the highest level, with a lack of finances and funding. I feel like this video is all over the damn place, but I just wanted you to know that, like, yeah, 778 people and more, because they probably didn't put all of them, were killed in Chicago in 2016. That happened. It did. But that's not all the city is. At some point, you got to get out of this place. And I think that also is an issue for a lot of the people who live here. A lot of people have never left the south side or the west side of Chicago. This is all they know. And there's a whole world out there. Like, I had never seen mountains until I moved south. What? I had never known that summertime could be like 115 degrees. I never knew that wintertime didn't have to be below zero all the time, and that snow didn't fall all the time. I didn't know those things until I left this city. And so when I'm not here, I'm at peace. But when I come home, the noise, like, you go to sleep to sirens, you wake up to sirens, you go to sleep to the train, you wake up to the train, you go to sleep to horns honking, you wake up to them, you go to sleep to lights, you wake up to lights. And sometimes you miss that. But it's a lot of people in this city who don't know anything other than always being ready. TTG, they train to go all the time. They don't know anything else. They don't know that when somebody rides by and smiles at you, it's okay to smile back. I had to learn that. It's okay if somebody ride by and wave at you for you to wave back. No, you don't know them, but they're just being friendly. Again, I think this video is just kind of all over the place because I'm just kind of trying to figure out what I want to say. Don't allow the media to make you think that this place isn't beautiful, isn't fun, isn't filled with things to do. It is. But like any other place in this country and in this world, there are pockets where there are problems. And in Chicago, our pockets are just bigger because it's a really big city. And if you have the opportunity to come here, do not be afraid. Come to this city. There's some good people here. There's some funny people here. There's some amazing food here. There's some awesome culture here. You know, visit. You're getting to do something that people in the city don't get to do. You know how many kids in this city have probably never been to the museum, have never been to the Shed Aquarium, because it's so expensive to go to these places? All of us in this city are not lucky. We're not privileged. We haven't been given a chance to do something other than just be in this city. So don't let the news make you think that this place is some godforsaken place ridden with crime. It's not. It's just the home of a lot of people who don't have opportunities, who don't have chances, who are just trying to figure this shit out one way or another. So if you're trying to think of some positive things that Chicago has to offer, the food is amazing. The landscape is beautiful. You know, there are beautiful buildings all around us. There are beautiful homes all around us. And a lot of these buildings and homes, even the ones that are not in downtown, but on the south side and on the west side, have history behind them. Your favorite athlete lived in them, visited them. The people here are funny. They have the best jokes. Don't get into a roast session with somebody from Chicago because we will clown you. We are really quick with it. The culture, you have different subsets of communities and ethnicities throughout the city. And even if you've never been outside of this city, you can walk over to these communities and immediately you're engrossed in another culture. We have amazing sports. You know, we don't win everything, but going to a basketball game at the United Center is like the pinnacle of anything you could ever do in the city of Chicago. Going to a football game at Soldier Field is like on everybody's bucket list here in the city. If you're wanting to be on the south side in the summer, come to a Billiken Day parade and you will see waves of people and kids standing out on the streets just to see the floats go by. We have some of the best bands in this city. My high school is one of them. Okay, King College Prep. We have some of the best drill teams and dance teams. We have a lot of secrets, a lot of history in this city. And despite, again, what people say, you can't come to Chicago and not have a good time. Chicago is a really awesome place. It is home. It is the only home I know. It is the only place that I would truly ever call home no matter where I live. And I just want you all to see that what is depicted in the news is not really what's true of this place, especially if you love it. And I just wanted to share this with you all going into 2017. No place is perfect, but it's what you make of it while you're in these places that makes all the difference. So, to my city, take care of yourself. Take care of each other.
Man, I gotta make it back home to Chicago. Back home to Chicago. I know you think it's crazy there. All back in Chicago. I gotta make it back home to Chicago. Jungle, tell me how to rumble. Round the world, yeah. That's why I make it to Chicago.